Hello everybody. In this video we're going to take a look at a number of different techniques for creating variations of your models. In this video I'll be using the character that I modeled in my Modeling a Character with Extrude video. The character is quite generic, but with some of the tools I'll be showing you, you'll see that we can create a lot of variety. One technique we can use is scaling the character. The problem is that a uniform scale simply changes the size, and a non-uniform scale creates some odd distortions. But if we use the scale tool with the components, we can get a little bit more out of it. I'm going to select the vertices in the right arm, and I'm going to go to my modeling toolkit and turn on symmetry. Symmetry on the object x-axis. I will also select the vertices in the feet, as well as the head. And I will now invert my selection. Oftentimes, when scaling components, I'll move the pivot point. I'm going to move this pivot point to the base of the feet. And I'll do a non-uniform scale on the y-axis. I'll select the vertices in the arms and the head and move them down. And because my character is shorter now, I think I will make the arms shorter as well. I'm going to select the vertices in the right arm. Because I have symmetry, it also selected the vertices on the left arm. I'll move the pivot point to the base of the arm and do a non-uniform scale on the x-axis. I'll grab the vertices in the hand, scale it uniformly down a little bit, and bring it in. Now I'll spend a little bit of time tweaking and refining the area where the arm meets the torso. It's situations like this that you can really appreciate using symmetry. I can work on one shoulder area, the right shoulder, and the refinements will happen on the left shoulder as well. For the height of my character, the torso seems awfully short and the legs a bit long. I'll select the vertices in the abdomen and leg area and do a non-uniform scale on the Y. I'll also make some adjustments to the vertices in the abdomen area. And I'll continue making some simple adjustments to the components of my model. I'm going to now introduce you to another useful tool for creating these variations. Let's take a look at Soft Select, which can be found in the Modeling Toolkit. I'm going to enable Soft Select, and I'll select a single vertex on the top of the head. Notice what happens when I move that single vertex. Soft Select provides a fall off. The closer the component is to what I have selected, the more it will be influenced. I still have symmetry on. Notice that Soft Select works with symmetry. I'm going to use Soft Select to give my character a little bit of a belly, as well as a butt. I'll also use Soft Select to make the feet a little less long. Notice that I can change the fall off here. A larger value will increase the fall off, a smaller value will decrease the fall off. An even more intuitive way to change the fall off of Soft Select is by holding down the B key on your keyboard while scrubbing with the left mouse button. You'll remember that that's exactly the same way you change the size of your brush in the 3D Paint tool. I'm going to continue refining my mesh using Soft Select with symmetry. I'm going to bring the arms in a little bit more. I still feel like they're a little bit long. And I'll make some quick adjustments to the shoulder and head area. Soft Select is a very versatile tool for making changes to your model, especially if your model is high resolution. Don't forget to turn off Soft Select as well as Symmetry when you're done using these tools. And here is my finished mesh, and here it is side by side with the original base mesh. We'll continue looking at a few more tools that we can use to make variations of our model. And to do that, I'm going to duplicate the mesh, and I'll do a mesh smooth on my base mesh. And with my mesh selected, I will go to Deform Lattice. This creates a lattice around my mesh. Just like a polygon primitive, a lattice can be adjusted in the channel box. We can add divisions on the S, T, or U. Generally, you want to keep your lattices pretty simple. And just like polygon primitives, lattices also have components. By right-clicking on the lattice, you can select Lattice Point. I can now select the lattice points and move them, and they will deform the mesh. A lattice allows me to make quick adjustments to my mesh, but by only using a few points. The techniques I'm using are no different than the ones I would use for vertices on a polygon mesh. Translate, scale, rotate, moving pivot points, turning on symmetry, it'll all work with the components of your lattice. I'd like to show you a couple things that are important to understand about lattices. I'm going to go to the object mode of the lattice. And I'm going to move the entire lattice. Notice that when I move the lattice, the mesh moves with it. But if I select the mesh and move it, this happens. When you're done modeling with a lattice, it's recommended that you select the mesh and then you go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. Deleting the history will get rid of the lattice, but keep the changes to the mesh. And now I have a base mesh and two variations, a short and a tall character. Let's take a look at a few more techniques and tools. Once again, I have duplicated my base mesh and I've done a mesh smooth. And I'm going to select my mesh in object mode. And I will go to Edit Mesh, Transform. The X and the Y arrows don't really do much for you with this tool. However, if I pull on the blue arrow, the Z axis, I can make my model thicker or thinner. This is a very different effect than simply scaling your mesh. And now that I've done a Edit Mesh Transform on my mesh, let's take a look at a problem area, the hand. I'm going to delete this mesh and I'm going to show you a little more effective way to use it. Once again, I will duplicate my base mesh and I will apply a mesh smooth to it. And going to vertex mode, I'm going to select some of the vertices of my mesh. Before, when I used the transform tool, I had problems in the hands and the feet. So I'm going to avoid those vertices. I'll now apply the Edit Mesh Transform to these selected vertices. Remember to use the blue arrow, or Z axis, when using this tool. And I now have a skinnier character. You will notice that I have some problem areas around the neck and head, the wrists, as well as the ankles on my character. I'm going to show you how we can fix some of those problem areas, starting with the wrist. Of course, the most basic way would be to just come in and adjust the components. Remember that I have symmetry on, so everything I'm doing right now on the right wrist and hand is also happening on the left wrist and hand. To fix the head and neck area, we'll try something different. I'm going to go to Mesh Tools, Sculpting Tools, and I'm going to use the Smooth tool. I will click on the box to open up its tool settings. Remember that all the tools in Maya that use a brush can be adjusted by holding down the B key and the left mouse button. This will adjust the size of your brush. Notice that I can use the Smooth tool to smooth out those rough areas where the head meets the neck. Also, keep in mind I still have symmetry on. So when I fix one ankle, the other ankle will also be fixed. The Smooth tool under the Sculpting tools is a convenient way to fix those rough areas of a mesh. And I now have a skinny variation of my mesh. Let's make yet another variation. I'll move this character off to the side, create another duplicate of my base mesh. Once again, apply a mesh smooth to it, simply because I would like to have a little more resolution on the mesh. And I'll now go into component mode and select the vertices that I want. Sometimes the easiest way to select the vertices that you want is to first select the ones you don't want. I'm selecting the hands, feet, and head. And now I'm going to invert my selection by holding down Shift and marquee selecting. Now that I have these vertices selected, I will once again go to Edit Mesh, Transform, and I will pull out the vertices on the Z-axis, this time making the character huskier or bigger. As you can see, this could be a really simple and excellent way to make it look like the character has clothes. But that is not my intention here, so I'm going to once again go to Mesh Tools, Sculpting Tools, Smooth Tool, and I'm going to smooth out some of those rough areas. Once again, smoothing out the area around the neck and head. Smoothing out the area around the wrist. Symmetry is on, so this is also smoothing out the area on the left wrist. And I'll also use the smooth tool on the area around the ankles. And now that I have a huskier variation of my character, we're going to take a look at another tool under the sculpting tools. So once again, I'm going to go to Mesh Tools, Sculpting Tools, but this time I'm going to select the Grab tool. Making my brush bigger by holding down the B key and using the left mouse button. I'll now use the Grab tool to grab parts of my mesh and pull them out or pull them in to quickly adjust the character. The Grab tool is really a fantastic tool for making these kinds of adjustments. I'm going to switch over to my side view to make some of these adjustments. However, I've got all these other characters in the way right now. To temporarily hide these other characters, I'm going to put them into a layer. I'll select the characters that I want to hide, and then in the channel box under Layers, I will go to Layers, Create Layer from Selected. If I wish to do so, I can name my layer. And when I want to hide the contents on the layer, I click on the V. And now that I have just this single character, I can go to the side view and more easily work with it. Returning to my Grab tool, I'll make some more adjustments to my character. Now that I've defined the basic form of this character, I'll make some quick refinements by using my smooth tool, just to smooth out some of the areas that maybe are a little bit rough. Now I have yet another variation of my character. I'm going to add this character to the layer I created earlier. My mesh is selected. I right-click on the layer and add selected objects. I'll also make the layer visible so that I can see all the characters side by side. And I now have 5 characters, all derived from the same base mesh. I spent a little bit of time creating a couple additional variations off camera. This one simply has long legs. This one has shorter legs. You saw me work on my short character. Here's my base, the tall character, the skinny character, the big character. I also created a muscular character as well as one with more cartoony proportions. A really great way to look at your characters is by pressing 7 on your keyboard. As long as I don't have any lights in my scene, this will allow me to take a look at the characters' silhouettes. Pressing 5 on my keyboard will return me to shaded mode. So there you have it, a bunch of different tools and techniques to quickly create variations off of a base mesh. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.